And welcome. This is Re 69, as per what you'd see on Discord. And I have to you a pretty nice set of replays regarding a Maehv deck that I cooked up following an inspiration from Alpha Century's deck tech. Before we get into that, since this is my first video, I figured I'd just give a little rundown of who I am. Not personally, but just so you have a basic idea. So I have been playing for a bit. I wouldn't say I am top tier, but yeah, I'm S right now. But I mean, it's early in the season, so this doesn't really count. And I've been S for at this point. Wow, 17 seasons at this point. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm top tier, but I definitely know what the S rank meta is like a lot of times. I've played in S a lot of times, and since there's not much content out there regarding constructed play, I figured I would contribute. So this is my basic overview. Feel free to add me in game if you want. I can be a bit of a troll on DO, but I really am there out to help people. I enjoy talking decks, and just don't say anything too stupid. All right, let's go into the deck. So the deck I have today, which is, I think, very nice, is a Maehv deck, specifically an Aggro Maehv. And it came off of the idea from Alpha Century when he posted a deck tech on the Bad Magmar. Shout out to the Bad Magmar. I'll link it in the description. It's a site made by Kirby and a lot of work done by Good Guy Hopper and a lot of other, high-level, often S-rank players. They've been putting a lot of work in there, and it's a really phenomenal site, so definitely check it out if you get the chance. But anyway, Alpha Century, I believe was a Grandmaster a couple years ago with DWC, posted this list regarding Maehv, and it revolved around the idea of getting ahead early with, her BBS and Azure Horn Sharaman, and then finishing games out with Chakra, which I think is actually quite genius, considering the state of the meta right now, because Chakran will usually come down, or it usually has a chance to come down on the turn that one of the more popular decks in the meta, Wanderer, will play their titular card, Wanderer. So it's a very slow turn where they will play a large body, which is perfect for Chakran because not only do you have a buffed up board, but you can usually mop up by hitting the general's face while clearing the Wanderer. Usually that results in a tempo swing that will lose the Wanderer in the game. On top of that, just standard Abyssian things. They have a very nice healing core, which enables them to go face for a much longer time while not being punished for it. And I thought, there's something here. So I tested the deck out a bit. I liked it, but I think there could have been more. And in fairness to Alpha, it might just be a difference in playstyle. Or maybe I wasn't piloting as optimally. But anyway, I decided to meld, some of the elements of Burn Kasiva, another very popular deck on ladder right now, with the elements of Tempo Maehv. So basically, we have this really nice marriage of a tempo deck, which can transition to burn once the enemy starts to stabilize. And I found that this is much better at closing out game because you're not as reliant on board. You'll usually cycle your burn early game, look for your big combos, get a big hit in, and then it's much, much easier to just back off and let the burn do its trick. So let's take a little look at it, shall we? All right. So this is my Aggro Maehv. Right off the bat, just look at the 2-drop suite. So we've got 16 turn 1 plays if we need to. Shaman obviously is the MVP. I do not think Maehv is worth running right now without Shaman. It's just way too powerful. You BBS, you generate a 4/8, and then whatever is on board, if you position correctly, will have +4 health. This makes a very sticky board and will usually set you up for Chakra next turn since BBS comes down, usually 5 or 6. Or excuse me, 4 or 5. All right, moving down the line. 3 Void Pulses. Usually an anomaly, but it works in this deck just because, as I said before, we want to transition to burn later on. This also allows us to stay face a little more easily, and because the deck has a pretty decent draw engine, you can, stay close to the enemy a lot longer without having to worry about their big combos, notably Ragnar's, Egg Morph, BBS, Rate of Fortitude, all these other things. We can stay closer a bit longer and, apply that extra pressure if need be. And it also gives us a ranged way of dealing damage when we back off. Flameblood Warlock does a similar thing, with the exception of the fact that you usually want to cycle this early game, unless you absolutely need a body from Maehv and you're far ahead. You want to really buff a shaman play. It is viable. But usually I will cycle this early game, that way I can back off and hold this, so when I'm top decking things in the late game, I'm more likely to top deck direct damage than I need for lethal. Moving on, Herald, just a great all-around turn 1 play. Very fat, very resilient, and you're almost always going to get a ramp unless you're playing Magmar, notably Vath, because he will be running a lot more natural selections than, say, Ragnarok, or even Starhorn. Cryptographer, pretty basic. I'm not 100% sold on his efficiency, because he's very dead in the late game, but he really can help you get your BBS turn online one turn earlier, which sometimes can make the difference between a winner or a loss, so he's in there as a 3x. Also, turn 1 play never hurts. Primus Fist, again, you're running multiple 1/4s in the deck. There's no reason why you shouldn't be running Primus Fist. It's a great way to clear a 2-drop, particularly if Vet will play a Golem Metallurgist on the tile. It's a great way to clear it, leave the Herald alive, protected 2/3. It's a great combo. Min-Maxer, I think, really does a good job of demonstrating just how powerful this card is. I don't think any aggro deck is complete without it. Okay, Blazehound. Yeah. So Blazehound is good. I'm not sure if it's optimal anymore. So you're going to see during the replays that I seesaw back and forth between Dark Seed and Saberspine Tiger. I think Saberspine Tiger is the more optimal play now that I'm looking at it, just because it gives you that clear if you have a Chakram equipped. And a lot of times, since you're going to be going up against the vast majority of decks on ladder, tend to lack the ping. Even Vet isn't running Rashas as often anymore, and you usually will have a minion around you. I've just found Tiger to be more efficient than Dark Seed, because with Chakram it's 5 damage and a board clear, and that can enable you to go face. That's 7 damage as opposed to Dark Seed's max of 6. Although if you really wanted to, you could definitely run Dark Seed. It can punish Apex players a lot of times because they will be holding on to a lot of their cards. 6 cards, 6 damage, not a bad deal. So Blazehound. Blazehound is there. It's part of our draw engine. It's also a very good tool. It's not easily dealt with in a lot of factions, especially if positioned properly. Be sure to play around Dancing Blades if you're going up against Wander, but other than that, it's great. Murkblood Devourer, I think, is the big, breakthrough that really got me excited with this deck. Alpha was the one who originally proposed it, and it works great. 2/4, decent body, especially when protected. Turns your suite of 2-drops into much stickier minions that can trade much more easily. And then finally, it gives you an alternate to, turns and games where, perhaps you don't have as a Horn Shaman in your opening bar. Although you're still pretty screwed if you ask my opinion. Because it gives a 5/5, 5/5, 5 HP. Gets you a lot of cutoffs. It's often very hard to remove something like that. If it goes face twice, that's 10 damage. That often is enough to win you the game with optimal play. Cell Soul. It's a 1x, simply because I didn't want to run 3 Tigers. I didn't think Tiger was worth running as a 3x, so I decided to just stick a Cell Soul. Alpha runs 2. I run 1. I think it's great early game, but I'd almost always rather play Jammer turn 2, or a Blazehound plus a 2-drop if I'm going second. So that's why he's at 1. I can definitely see the argument for it. He's great turn 1 as player 2. And, just play around. If you like developing board, and I think maybe if you are a much more, minion-based type player, and you can, really manage your board, I think a little better than what I can. I came from a Songhai background, just so you guys know. That might be why I prefer, all these burstier tools. Definitely, by all means, experiment with more. I don't think you would hurt the deck by running 2 to 3 Cell Souls. It's a great card. And the bonus is if you manage to buff it, Usually the only way they can cleanly deal with it is by damaging it to the point where its dying wish is less than the damage it will put out, or they have to dispel it. And at that point, it's just a vanilla 4/5. You don't have to worry about taking the damage, and even if you do, you have heals. So it's a great card, and it works very well in this deck. I think it's a good breakthrough. Finally, we have 3 Jammers and 3 Chakrams. Chakram is your win con. After Shaman, I can't think of a card in this deck that's more important to play than Chakram. Chakram is what gives you the big swing and enables you to close out games with burns with just that little bit extra chip. It's very good versus Wanderer, because often they can't remove these artifacts. And if you have a big board beforehand, it can often just spell GG. Very good versus Magmar, Wanderer. Trying to think what else I've played that's pretty good against. I could see it being decent against Lionar, though I haven't played enough games to really make a definitive statement there. And then finally, Jammer. You're running a lot of 2-drops. You're running a very low curve, 18 2-cost minions/spells, 6 1-cost minions/spells. You need to replenish your hand, and Blaze Hound is enough. So Jammer it is. Notable exclusion. We aren't including Desolator. Why? I just don't think it's fast enough for this deck. It doesn't do enough damage, and it often is a body that's easily dealt with when you're going up against the likes of, say, Wanderer, or even Vet. Bonesworn. It's done. Bonesworn, Lost in the Desert. Okay. That's a net of 6 to you, on top of whatever else was on your board. Wanderer. Wanderer Reva, Gotatsu, Blood Tear, Maw. It's just too much of a tempo loss, I think, to be worth running. I could definitely see, a heavier curve list run it, because it has, it definitely has a grindier aspect to it, but I just don't think it gets the value it does in, say, like Cass, where you can just put it out, ping it, return it to your hand so they can't remove it, put it out again, ping it, and then it's also a win con in the late game where you can play it twice by pinging at 9. So that's why I don't have that. All right, so let's get into some matches. We're not going to be doing anything live, and it's not because I'm self-conscious. I think I can play fine. I'm not, great, but I'm good. I just find that we both get more out of it by, watching, a replay, because I can fully commentate on a battle. You get to see me playing at my best. Anyone who's streaming or, YouTubing generally will have a slight decrease in their ability to play, simply because, they are interacting with other things, the chat, the screen, the commentary. And I don't want to take that away from you guys. I want to get the most out of this replay, partially because I'm also using this as a chance to watch my own replays. So let's take a look at some matches. I selected a couple. I thought they'd be pretty good. Decided to show a couple matches against some better players. Not because I'm trying to be like, ooh, I'm better than them. That's not the case. It's just to show that when we're playing against these guys, they're generally playing close to optimal. So it's a better indicator of what this deck can and cannot do, if that makes sense. So let's pop into a match. Got a good one. So as you can see, deck did reasonably well. 12 and 9 to S, with a pretty decent spread, I'd say, with regards to what was being run and what wasn't being run. And a good mix of characters. Like, we lost one, the Leglock, good guy. But we were able to take a few from, some guys who are definitely recognizable on the forums and on the Duelyst community. All right, let's pop into this one versus Death's Advocate. I like this one just because it shows how you are going to play against a greedier deck, and this deck's ability to deal with backline threats, particularly BBSs like Reva and, in this case, Ragnarok. So, I'm going to put it onto real time. So this is our opening hand. I'm going to keep this hand, and a lot of you probably are wondering about this. You said, well, wait, you said the whole idea behind this deck is to transition to burn later, so wouldn't you want to replace Flameblood Warlock first? And the answer is no. The reason being is because this is Ragnarok. There's a very good chance that he's running Greed, aka, win con of Extinction Event, Progenitor. And he's almost always going to be running Zoetic Charm. Zoetic Charm not only gives his eggs force field, but it hits a lot of breakpoints in being able to finish off our 2/3 minions, as well as if we manage to get a general hit in with a 5 health minion, he can clear it the next turn. So this is why we're keeping it for ping. Also, because I have Cryptographer in hand, I could see this being another body to buff with Shaman. So we're going to keep it. Keeping Blood Tier is an obvious play. We need the ping to deal with whatever BBS comes out, particularly even turn 1 if he comes out with Cryptographer. And then finally Spelljammer rounds it out at some point. Hopefully sooner rather than later, but that's going to depend on how good old DA plays. So let's go into it. So yeah, you can see I debated about replacing the Flame Blood, but in the end of the day, I decided to keep everything. Shaman, obviously, you don't replace. I think you could even make a case if I had Chakram in this hand. You could make a case for not replacing that as well. They're the 6 cards I think that are most important to the deck's game plan, and you should play accordingly. Okay, so very simple turn. Play Cryptographer, get my BBS online, and do it. So as you can see, we're playing Dark Seed. This is the version with Dark Seed. I eventually changed it out for Tiger for the final push for S, and I think it worked marvelously, but as I said before, Seed works just fine, especially if you're more of a burning type of person. Okay, so yeah, he did Cryptographer. He's going to play it right here. I question why he didn't let us. He let us have the mana tile, particularly where we have our BBS. But he could also be because he wants to hold on to this body, and he also knows that in order to take this tile, I have to get it close, which could mean a number of things: greater fortitude or any manner of buff spells in particular. So I question it, but it's also because I'm seeing the other side where I have Blood Tier in hand. Okay. So this is a pretty obvious turn again. We're going to, we drew our nuts, so we're going to Azure Horn. I'm debating on whether or not I want to play Flame Blood here, but obviously we have to play Blood Tier. We have to remove that egg. It's too early to just, think about pure board value. We can get ahead, and even if we're not as ahead on board, it's better than not having that egg. The egg is too dangerous, so we're going to clear that egg. You're also going to notice that I didn't play this second Blood Tier, even though I could. And the reason why is because Ragnar is going on his Bloodborne spell next turn. Just an FYI. Similar concept to the Flame Blood. It's more optimal to hold on to this ping because we know we're playing against a general or we're going to do it. So he's going to back up. He's going to turtle, which I think is a smart move given the host of removal that Magmar has. He's going to play another Crypto. And he's going to play Propagate Rage. This is actually pretty good. The scarier play, I think, would have been if he had a Mentor. He could have come up, taken this, and then played one and had one in hand. So we're kind of lucky that all he had was Cryptographer. So yeah, now we're going to go in and we're going to use what Blood Tier we had last turn, and we're also going to develop a Spelljammer this turn. We have to play a little bit around Mekantor at this point, because he is getting close. He could flash, even though I don't think that that's the best play for him at this point. But it is worth playing around at this stage, especially because we can afford to. So this is why I'm daisy chaining with my general. Namely, you have your general here, and then you have minions on the diagonals. This is also a good way to play around Painter. for those of you who struggle with somehow. And we're going to play Jammer here. And the reason why we play it here is because we have all these squares covered, but he could still play BBS here and be safe. So the reason why we play it here is that so we have all squares covered, he can't play his BBS protected. He Plasma Storms. I personally think that, well, it's not what I personally think. That was a very valuable play, and I think that was the best play he could have played at that time. So this is probably very similar to the one that the deck that Henry Cantor was running a couple of weeks ago at a local tournament. It runs Plasma Storm as a tech for Swarm Bloom. That's probably why it's being run. But this is good for us. We have, an open board, and we can just go in and attack. So I'm going to pause right here just because I think there's an interesting fork in this decision. And we have two lines of play we can go. One of which is he has an empty board. He's Magmar. He probably can't deal with artifacts. And we have Chakra. And we Chakra. We hit him for 8. And now he has to deal with not only an artifact, but a 6/6. The other option we have is we can play our 2/2 drops and be a little greedier with board. This is also a little risky just because he's already shown Plasma Stone. There's a very good chance that he's holding a second, knowing that outside of the husks, there's likely nothing in our deck that can really deal and survive Plasma Storm. He hasn't seen Blaze Hound yet. I personally end up going with the 2/2s. And the reason for this is because, one, I think it's better. There's no reason why we shouldn't develop board. We're not pushing lethal at this point. And we are ahead. So the more we stay ahead, the less likely and less breathing space he will have to develop his own board, even if he does play removal. Because a lot of these things, Rebuke and the like, they're all expensive. He can't do it. The other, I think, more pivotal reason is if we Chakra him this turn, this would have been a 6/6. He could have easily rebuked, and we would have been left with a 2/1, which he could have easily cleared and then played a BBS protected. The Ripper Egg could have killed us because we do not have any comebacks, as you can see in this list. Let's see what he does. Oh, see exactly what he does. He rebukes. So this is why we didn't Chakra him this turn, because it would have been one enemy. He also could have natural selectioned as well. I don't generally see Ragnar as running natural selection, but that's definitely something that you still should be playing around. Okay, so as you can see, I'm toggling over the Cryptographer. I think it's a dead card right now. There's no reason for me to keep it, so that's definitely run back. Oh, what do you know? An Azure Horn. But it's a little late for that because, as you can see, we have lethal. Another reason why we wanted to develop board last turn, because if we had 2 minions stick, it would have been lethal. So, well played. And again, as I said before, this isn't a reflection of my opponent's lack of skill or my amount of skill, lack thereof. It's more just to show. I wanted to get as good opponents as possible for this video, just so you know and you have a better idea of how the deck will stand up to against opponents who play close to optimally. So GG. Let's take a look at another one. Nope, not that. Hello, Leglock. He, I think, actually nicked the win from me earlier. I think I only have time for one more. So let's make it a good one. Let's play, let's do this one against Prostobot. So I don't know if you heard, but I think Prostobot won a good amount of his, I think he was like 5-0 in the Mithron opener a couple weeks ago. Or actually not a couple weeks, a couple days ago, so congrats to him. He's a great player. Looks like he's going to be running Wander Riva. Very unlikely that we could see a mid-range. So replaces here. We don't think he's running artifacts, so Flame Blood goes away. You can see we're running Tiger at this point, but it's just too early for that. We need to develop board. So he opens with Celebrant. We have 2 Chakrams, that's too greedy. We're going to get rid of 1. There is a possibility to go double 2-drop, but that's just way too risky. He removes the Shaman and we lose a possible win con. We really need to get out that combo quickly. That way it will make his Wanderer turns more awkward. We know he's Wanderer because he's Wanderer. Yay! Okay. So this was a very good play on his end. Definitely feel free to watch that replay again on, my stream. Excuse me, not my stream, but on my account, or just on the video again. I was very impressed. I think it was a little greedy with regards to cards, but just phenomenal positioning. So you can see he has the Jux, he has the Gotatsu, he clears the Fist, right? Great play. Well, not a great play, but this is the follow-up is just amazing. He blocks me off from getting to this tile, so effectively what he's done here is he's almost ensured that he can get 6 the next turn, and I have an empty board. So I think just great play overall. I have no choice but to lure here. It puts me down a lot of cards, but the only way I can win this game is by stopping Wanderer 1 more turn. I think playing the 2 Blood Tier Alchemists, real time. I think playing the 2 Blood Tier Alchemists may have been a mistake. But I needed bodies on the board. Shaman was coming out, so maybe it was okay. It worked out for me in the end. But I would definitely have to rethink that line of play, consider it a little harder. So he follows up again. Nice positioning. And that's why I say it might not have been a good idea for me to play both Blood Tiers, because now I have no way to deal with this Heartseeker in my hand. Excuse me, this Heartseeker on his side of the board. And he follows up with the Maw, so he's getting a lot of his early game. This isn't looking good. And yeah, just both movement spells. I mean, you could say this is a high roll, but I mean, honestly, I think he's positioning very well and playing very well. I can't complain. It's pretty fun to watch. Although I could definitely see myself getting salty if he managed to pull like say a Sender or something crazy after Wanderer. So again, I have no choice. He's coming on Wanderer. This is my best play. Block Wanderer for 1 more turn. This is a very important, I think, concept to grasp if you are struggling with Wanderer, is that certain Wanderer decks, particularly Reba and Brome, really want to get Wanderer out as close to on curve as possible a lot of times, and by delaying them, you really slow them down. Like you can see he spent a lot of resources, a lot of his early game, to really shut me down so that Wanderer came out. It was good. And now look at this. So we have a decent sized board. Granted, we did draw our Shaman, but then again, what else is new? It's Maehv. And now he's got a 3-2, a 2-3, a 2-2, and we have Chakram in hand. There could be a case for replacing Flameblood. In retrospect, I think I should have. But I was also looking like, oh, I have all this damage. I go face. This is 6. This is 10. So I'm doing 12 to him. That splits into 11. I still think I should have replaced Warlock. 11 is low, but it's not low enough, I think, to start holding damage, particularly when you're ahead on board like that. Because if this thing got killing edged, I probably would have lost. So let's continue. So, big surprise, flashy Chakram turn. Pretty fun. So the positioning here is positioned in a way that he can't get behind me in case he's running Scroll Bandit, which is unlikely, but just in case. And the other reason why I'm moving this way as opposed to staying on top of him, which I think is more optimal for going face, is I need to play around Thunderbomb. He hasn't revealed it yet. So this way, without clumping my minions, I play around Thunderbomb, I play around a lot of things. I do give this guy up because if he wanders this turn, this Heartseeker can clear it, but I think it's worth it. So he makes an interesting play here. He plays the Wanderer, which I think is a smart play, but he keeps this in place, and I'm interested in why he's doing that, because he already body blocked the Wanderer. My thought is that he was trying to fork me. I'll have to look into it. It's an interesting line of play. And when I say fork, that means he's basically saying you can either do a lot of damage with this, or you can, clear this Heartseeker. So I'm thinking at this point, this is kind of rough. So anyway, I can body block. And this is an interesting play that I will explain. So I'm going to go down, just as a spoiler. And I'm going to play the Merc-Blood and the Cryptographer naked. And the reason for that is, one, it boxes him in. And two, it body blocks the Wanderer. The other reason why is I need to be pushing damage. I cannot just try and control board anymore. He will win by value. And that is how Wanderer works. This is why a lot of people try to aggro out Wanderer when it hits the board. I'm going to clear this. That way the only way he can get out of this is by using the Wanderer to either clear the Cryptographer or the Merc-Blood. Probably the Merc-Blood. Merc-Blood is fine, though, because if he clears the Merc-Blood, which he most likely will, he's going to come up and it will enable me to go face one more time. I make a Husk here, just because we have to take risks at this point. We got a very lucky top deck with the Tiger, which is why I run it now, because it's probably the best top deck you can have for a Wanderer. For a Chakram equipped general, bar Revenant. But again, if that Tiger was a Revenant, we would have lost this game, because we're only at 7. Games tend to lose on 7, which is why I don't run Revenant. It's definitely worth including, though. The ceiling is definitely higher than Tiger. So he clears our Merc-Blood, we could be in a bit of trouble. And again, if he had any more damaging spells, any more pings, we would have lost, just because we didn't have any way to deal with it. So he makes a smart move. He boxes us in and continues to body block with the Wanderer. But it's not enough. I think he makes a slight misplay here. So he has the Mentor, right? He plays the Seeker to body block, which I think is a good idea. But then he plays it here. I think that's a misplay because I would have rather played it here, because if I had a lure, I could have just moved it and then hit with that. Although maybe I still would have had to refill, but I don't know. I think that was a misplay. I think he should have body blocked here. That way, I couldn't just lure something out of the way. I couldn't grasp something, even though I don't have grasp. Although I guess now that I think about it, I guess it was an acceptable play. I would have gone with the other way just to body block, but again, it's easier to see these play arounds when you're playing from the other side, just because I know what's in my hand and I know what I'm running. I do not think this deck will be as good in a couple of weeks when people realize, that, Maehv is running Chakram. Foster would have definitely played around that. But as it is right now, it's a good way to catch, multiple decks off guard. You often will need Azure Horn Shaman to win, although your odds of getting it are pretty good if you were placed for it before your BBS. Other than that, you can definitely use Merc-Blood. Merc-Blood is your alt way to get to the combo, because a 5/5 is very hard to kill. It can't be draining Wave versus Swarm Realm anymore. It can't be Mechantord. There's a lot of things it doesn't die to anymore. 5 attack, it's, as I said in the deck tech, is nothing to sneeze at either. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully I'll be able to make something else some other time. But I found this enjoyable. I was able to identify misplays, and hope you guys did too. I hope you guys have fun with the deck if you decide to play it. And feel free to, always message me in game or on DL. I would be happy to give some pointers, or reach out to Alpha Century as well, because he's been having quite a bit of fun with this archetype as well. All right, stay frosty till next time.